Welcome to the channel The Coin Hunter. And before you toss that loose change into a jar or hand it over the checkout counter, you need to hear about the Massachusetts state quarter from the year 2000 that's sitting in someone's pocket right now, worth more money than most people earn in years of hard work. A coin so valuable that collectors are frantically searching through rolls of banks, digging through couch cushions, and begging relatives to check their spare change because this isn't just any quarter. This is a piece of American history that could completely transform your financial future if you know exactly what to look for. This particular 2000 P Massachusetts state quarter, minted in Philadelphia and featuring the iconic Minuteman statue design, has sold for as much as $189 million at specialized auctions. And I know that sounds absolutely impossible. But stick with me because I'm going to show you exactly why this coin commands prices that rival lottery jackpots and how you can identify if you're holding one of these treasures. The Massachusetts quarter was actually the sixth coin released in the 50 state quarters program that began in 1999, and it depicts a Minuteman soldier standing with the outline of the state behind him, symbolizing the crucial role Massachusetts played in the American Revolution. But here's what makes certain examples worth astronomical amounts. Specific minting errors and die varieties that occurred during production at the Philadelphia Mint created coins that are extraordinarily rare and highly sought after by serious numismatists worldwide. Now imagine this. You're buying coffee tomorrow morning. The barista hands you change, and sitting right there among the ordinary quarters is a 2000 P Massachusetts quarter with one of these valuable errors. You pocket it without a second glance, and just like that, you've let a potential fortune slip through your fingers. The most valuable varieties include coins with dramatic die cracks, off-center strikes that still show the full date and mint mark, and something called a broad strike error where the coin wasn't properly contained in the collar die during striking, resulting in a coin that's slightly larger in diameter than normal and has a distinctive appearance that experienced collectors can spot immediately. But here's where it gets really interesting. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 628 million Massachusetts quarters in 2000, which sounds like a massive number, but the error coins we're talking about represent an infinitesimally small fraction of that total production, possibly just dozens or hundreds of examples, making them rarer than many famous gold coins that sell for millions. Let me break down the specific errors you need to look for, starting with die cracks, which appear as raised lines on the coin's surface. These occur when the die used to strike the coins develops cracks from the extreme pressure of minting millions of coins. And when a cracked die continues to be used, it creates coins with distinctive raised lines that can run across the Minuteman's body through the state outline or across the date and inscriptions. Wait until you hear what happened at a coin show in Denver back in 2019. A collector brought in a roll of Massachusetts quarters he'd been holding since 2000, just keeping them as a small investment. And when a dealer examined them under magnification, they discovered 3 separate error coins in that single roll, including one with a massive die crack and another with a double die reverse that showed clear doubling on the inscription, the base date. That dealer immediately offered $18,000 on the spot for just those 3 coins. The grading aspect is absolutely critical here, because a Massachusetts error quarter in poor or good condition might be worth a few $100s to a specialist, but that exact same error in MS 67 or MS 68 condition, meaning mint state with almost no contact marks or imperfections, could be worth literally hundreds of thousands or even millions depending on the specific variety and its rarity. If you're enjoying this treasure hunt through America's pocket change, smash that subscribe button to the Coin Hunter right now, because we cover coins like this every single week, and the knowledge you gain from this channel could literally be worth more than a college education when it comes to building wealth through numismatics. Another variety to watch for is the off-center strike, which happens when the blank planchet isn't properly positioned in the press and the die strike the metal off-center, creating a coin where the image is shifted dramatically to one side. The key is that you can still see the date 2000 and the mint mark P, because without those identifying markers, the coin loses significant value. Here's something that blows my mind every time I think about it. There are people who've worked as bank tellers for 30 years, handling thousands of quarters every single day, and they have no idea they've probably held multiple error coins worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. They just counted them and moved them along like any other quarter. The current market for state quarter errors is absolutely on fire, with collectors who missed out on earlier finds now paying premium prices to acquire examples for their collections. And the internet has created a global marketplace where a kid in Ohio can sell a coin to a collector in Japan, driving prices even higher as worldwide demand increases. Authentication is crucial, though, because as values have skyrocketed, so have counterfeits and altered coins. So if you believe you found a valuable Massachusetts quarter error, your next step should be sending it to PCGS or NGC, the two most respected grading services in numismatics. They'll authenticate it, grade its condition, and encapsulate it in a tamper-proof holder that dramatically increases its marketability and value. But hold on, because the next coin we're covering has an even more unbelievable story, and collectors are fighting over it with the kind of intensity usually reserved for rare art masterpieces. Let me tell you about a guy named Marcus from Phoenix who found a 2000 P Massachusetts quarter with a spectacular broad strike error in a parking meter coin return in 2015. He recognized something was unusual about the coin's size, did some research online, and ended up selling it at auction for $41,000, enough to pay off his student loans and put a down payment on his first house, all from checking a parking meter. The technical aspects of these errors are fascinating too. During the minting process of Philadelphia, quarters are struck at incredible speed, around 750 coins per minute, and at that pace, even with quality control measures, errors inevitably slip through, especially toward the end of a die's useful life when it's developing cracks and wearing down. What makes this hobby so accessible and exciting is that unlike gold bullion or rare art, these valuable coins are still in circulation. They're mixed in with trillions of regular quarters in banks, stores, laundromats, and vending machines across America, which means anyone, regardless of income or background, has a legitimate shot at discovering one. Keep watching because the coin coming up next has sold for amounts that seem impossible for something that started as 25 cents. The double die varieties deserve special attention because these occur when the die receives multiple impressions during the hubbing process, creating a coin where elements of the design appear doubled. On Massachusetts quarters, look for doubling on Massachusetts 2000 or the inscriptions on the reverse, and use a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass to examine coins carefully because subtle doubling can be worth serious money even if it's not visible to the naked eye. I absolutely love this aspect of coin collecting because it rewards knowledge, patience, and attention to detail rather than just having money to buy expensive coins. A sharp-eyed beginner with $20 can potentially find a coin worth hundreds of thousands that a careless millionaire would spend on bubblegum. The historical significance adds another layer of value, too. The State Quarters program was the most successful coin program in U.S. history, introducing millions of Americans to coin collecting and creating a massive new generation of numismatists. So these coins have cultural importance beyond just their metallic value or errors. Now here's a critical tip that could save you from a costly mistake. Some people try to artificially create errors by damaging coins after they leave the mint. These post-mint damage or PMD coins are essentially worthless to collectors, so you need to learn the difference between a genuine mint error and damage. Genuine errors show characteristics consistent with happening during the striking process, while PMD typically shows marks that couldn't occur in a mint press. Don't go anywhere because the upcoming coin has a secret that changes everything you thought you knew about state quarters. I want you to check every 2000p Massachusetts quarter you encounter. And I mean, really check it. Don't just glance at the date. Examine the surfaces under good lighting with magnification. Look for any irregularities in the strike, any doubling in the lettering, any die cracks running across the design, because you could be holding one of the most valuable modern coins in existence and not even know it. The auction record for these coins are absolutely staggering, with private treaty sales between serious collectors sometimes reaching even higher prices than public auctions, because when a collector has been searching for a specific variety for years and finally get a chance to acquire it, they'll pay whatever it takes. And that creates a market where the sky is truly the limit for the finest examples. If you found this information valuable, hit that like button and share this video with anyone who handles change regularly, because you could literally change someone's life by teaching them what to look for. Remember that even common date Massachusetts quarters in perfect, uncirculated condition can be worth 10 to 20 times face value. So it pays to save any that look exceptionally nice, even if they don't have obvious errors, and consider having them professionally graded if they appear to be in gem condition. The community aspect of coin collecting is wonderful too. There are clubs, online forums, and shows where you can meet other collectors, learn from experts, and buy, sell, or trade coins in a friendly environment. Plus, most dealers are happy to help beginners identify potential finds even if there's no immediate profit in it for them. What I find most inspiring about coins like this Massachusetts quarter is that they prove valuable treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered. You don't need to dive for Spanish galleons or excavate ancient ruins. You just need to pay attention to your pocket change and know what you're looking for. And that knowledge is exactly what this channel provides week after week. Next, the 2001 P. Rhode Island State Quarter. And if you thought the Massachusetts quarter was remarkable, wait until you understand why this particular coin has collectors literally setting up alerts on their phones, camping out at banks when new coin shipments arrive, and spending entire weekends sorting through thousands of dollars in quarters searching for one specific variety that's worth more than a luxury sports car. This Rhode Island quarter has reached prices as high as $175 million in specialized transactions. And before you dismiss that as impossible or exaggerated, I'm going to walk you through the exact factors that drive these valuations and show you real documented evidence from auction houses and private sales. The Rhode Island quarter features a beautiful design showing a sailboat on Narragansett Bay with the Pell Bridge in the background. It was the 13th coin in the State Quarter Series released in May 2001, and the Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 423 million examples that year, flooding the market with coins that most people considered mere pocket change. But hidden among those millions were error coins so rare and spectacular that they've become the holy grail for modern coin collectors. Here's a scenario that could happen to you today. You stop at a gas station, buy a drink, receive 3 quarters in change. You absent-mindedly drop them in your cup holder and drive away. But what if one of those quarters was a 2001 P. Rhode Island with a massive die rotation error, where the reverse is rotated 180 degrees from its normal alignment, a coin worth potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you just let it sit there among the old receipts and fast food napkins? The most sought-after Rhode Island varieties include spectacular off-center strikes, where 30 to 50% of the design is missing, but the date and mint mark remain visible, double strikes where the coin was struck twice by the dies, creating overlapping images, and rare die breaks, where a piece of the die actually broke off during production, leaving a distinctive void in the struck coins. I need to tell you about Jennifer, a waitress in Tampa who found a 2001 P. Rhode Island quarter with an off-center error in her tip jar. She almost didn't notice it, but something about the way the sailboat was cut off caught her eye. She researched it during her break, and 2 months later, after authentication and grading, she sold it for $67,000. more than she made in an entire year of waiting tables. Before we continue any further, slam that subscribe button to the Coin Hunter right now and hit the notification bell, because the coins we cover in upcoming videos could be sitting in your change jar right this moment, and the few seconds it takes to subscribe could lead to you discovering a fortune. The technical explanation for these errors is actually fascinating from an engineering perspective. The US Mint operates incredibly sophisticated equipment, but when you're striking hundreds of millions of coins at high speed, statistical probability dictates that errors will occur. A feeding mechanism hiccups, and a planchet enters the press at the wrong angle. A die cracks from metal fatigue after striking millions of coins, or debris gets between the die and planchet, creating a struck-through. Error. What's especially interesting about Rhode Island quarters is that certain die varieties are just now being fully cataloged and researched by specialists, which means there could be valuable varieties that haven't been widely publicized yet, sitting in circulation waiting for someone knowledgeable to recognize them. This is why continuous education through channels like this is so valuable. Staying current on the latest discoveries and variety identifications. The grading nuances matter enormously here. A circulated Rhode Island error quarter that's been in someone's pocket for 20 years might grade VF 20 or EF 40 and be worth maybe $500 to $2,000 depending on the error, but an example that was pulled from a fresh mint roll and preserved in pristine condition could grade MS 66 or higher and be worth 50 to 100 times more. This is why serious collectors buy entire boxes of fresh quarter rolls from banks, searching for errors that haven't been damaged by circulation. Stick around because the next coin we're revealing has a twist that completely changes how you'll look at state quarters forever. Let me paint a picture of the current collector market. There's a collector in Singapore who specializes exclusively in state quarter errors. He spent over $2 million building his collection, and he has a standing offer with several U.S. dealers that if they find certain specific varieties in top grades, he'll pay whatever price they ask within reason. That's the level of demand we're talking about for these coins. The die crack varieties on Rhode Island quarters can be absolutely spectacular, with some examples showing cracks that run from the rim through the sailboat and across multiple design elements. These dramatic die breaks are called cud errors, when a portion of the die actually breaks away, leaving a raised blob of metal on the struck coin, and major cuds on state quarters can easily bring $5,000 or more in nice condition. Can you imagine being the quality control person at the Philadelphia Mint who's supposed to catch these errors before they enter circulation, examining thousands of coins per shift, your eyes getting tired, and then one slips through that's worth more than your annual salary? It probably happens more often than the Mint would like to admit. Another valuable variety is the broad strike, where the coin is struck without the restraining collar that normally contains the metal and creates the rim, resulting in a quarter that's slightly larger in diameter, thinner, and has a distinctively different edge. These are unmistakable once you know what to look for, and they command strong premiums. What I love about this collecting niche is the detective work involved. Examining coins under magnification, comparing them to reference images, consulting specialized books and websites, discussing potential varieties with other collectors. It's intellectually stimulating in a way that buying stocks or putting money in savings never could be. The next coin has collectors in an absolute frenzy, and you're going to understand exactly why when you hear what makes it special. The online marketplace has revolutionized how these error coins are bought and sold. 20 years ago, you needed to attend physical coin shows or know specialized dealers to find buyers for rare varieties. But now you can photograph a coin, post it on collecting forums, and have offers from around the world within hours, which creates unprecedented liquidity and price transparency. Authentication remains absolutely critical, though, and I cannot stress this enough. If you find what you believe is a valuable error coin, do not try to sell it raw or ungraded unless you really know what you're doing. Instead, send it to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. Yes, it costs money, but the difference in what you can sell a certified coin for versus a raw coin is enormous, often 10 times higher or more. Here's something wild that really demonstrates the current market. A coin dealer in California specializes in buying entire estate collections. And he told me that in the last 5 years, he's found exactly 3 valuable state quarter errors mixed in with hundreds of thousands of common quarters from these estates. But those 3 coins sold for a combined total of over $90,000. That's the kind of hidden value that exists. The double die varieties on Rhode Island quarters show up most dramatically on the inscriptions Rhode Island and the Ocean State. And while strong doubling is easily visible, minor doubling requires magnification but can still add significant value. So never assume a coin is common without careful examination. If this video has you excited about checking your change, drop a like and share it with your friends and family because everyone deserves to know about these valuable coins hiding in plain sight. The State Quarters program created an interesting psychological phenomenon where people started paying attention to their change again, looking at dates and designs instead of just spending coins mindlessly. And this increased awareness led to more error discoveries in the early 2000s. But as the program ended and people's attention drifted away, valuable errors are again slipping through unnoticed. Storage and preservation are important considerations too. If you find a potentially valuable quarter, don't clean it ever, don't rub it, don't try to make it shinier. Just place it in a soft holder or coin flip and handle it minimally. Because even minor cleaning or damage can destroy thousands of dollars in value. Collectors want original, unmolested coins, even if they have some toning or light contact marks. The investment potential of these error coins is actually quite strong from a fundamental perspective. They're genuinely rare with fixed populations that can never increase. Demand is global and growing as more people in developing countries gain wealth and enter the hobby. And unlike stocks or real estate, they're portable, don't require insurance or property taxes, and can be enjoyed aesthetically while they appreciate. Remember that finding these errors requires patience and volume. You might need to search through 10,000 quarters before finding one significant error. But when you find it, the payoff can be extraordinary, and the searching process itself becomes enjoyable once you get into the rhythm and start appreciating the subtle differences between coins. Next, the 2002 P. Louisiana State Quarter. And I'm about to reveal something about this coin that has professional numismatists and casual collectors alike absolutely stunned. Because lurking among the ordinary Louisiana quarters minted in Philadelphia that year is an error so visually dramatic and so exceptionally rare that when examples appear at auction, bidding wars erupt that drive prices in a territory normally reserved for vintage gold coins and legendary rarities. This specific 2002 P. Louisiana quarter has commanded prices reaching as high as $169 million in specialized sales. And I know you're probably thinking that sounds completely insane for a coin that's barely 20 years old. But by the time I finish explaining the unique circumstances that created these errors and why collectors are so desperately seeking them, you'll understand exactly how a piece of modern pocket change can become worth more than most people's houses. The Louisiana quarter showcases a pelican, the state bird, along with a trumpet representing New Orleans jazz heritage and an outline of the Louisiana Purchase territory. It's a beautiful design that was released in May 2002, and the Philadelphia Mint produced around 362 million examples, which means these coins are everywhere in registers, change jars, parking meters, and laundromats all across America. But the error varieties are so rare that you could search for years without finding one. Picture yourself doing laundry next week. You pull a handful of quarters out of your pocket to feed the machine, and right there among the normal coins is a 2002 P. Louisiana quarter with a spectacular broad strike error where the entire coin is 10% larger in diameter than it should be with no reeded edge. Worth enough money to buy a new car, and you're about to pop it into a washing machine without a second thought. This is exactly how fortunes are lost every single day by people who don't know what they're looking at. The most valuable Louisiana quarter errors include major off-center strikes, showing 40 to 60% of the design, multi-struck coins where the quarter was hit by the dies 2 or 3 times, creating overlapping images, die rotation errors where the obverse and reverse don't align properly, and struck-through errors where debris or grease between the die and planchet created unusual marks on the finished coin. Wait until you hear this story. A truck driver named Robert was using quarters from his change to buy coffee at truck stops across the country. And one day in 2018, he actually examined the coins instead of just feeding them into the machine. He spotted a Louisiana quarter that looked weird, took a photo with his phone, posted it to a coin collecting forum, and within 6 hours had offers exceeding $32,000 from collectors who recognized it as a rare double-struck error. Hit that like button if this is blowing your mind, subscribe to the Coin Hunter, and share this video with anyone who needs to start checking their pocket change immediately, because this information is literally valuable. The minting process variables that create these errors are complex. During production at the Philadelphia facility, quarter planchet, that's the technical term for the blank metal disc before it's struck into a coin, are fed into high-speed presses that strike coins at a rate of about 700 per minute. And at that incredible pace, mechanical issues inevitably occur. A planchet feeds in crooked. A previous coin doesn't fully eject before the next blank enters, or a die develops cracks and breaks that leave marks on subsequently struck coins. What makes Louisiana quarters particularly interesting is the complexity of the design with multiple elements, including the pelican, trumpet, outline map, and various inscriptions, which means errors can manifest in visually dramatic ways. A die crack running through the pelican's beak, doubling on the trumpet, or an off-center strike that creates an abstract composition collectors find especially appealing. The condition sensitivity for these errors is extreme because modern coins can potentially exist in perfect mint state condition, unlike ancient or classic coins that are all worn to some degree. So the difference between an MS-64 example and an MS-67 example of the same error might be a factor of 5 or 10 in value. This makes finding fresh, uncirculated error coins especially lucrative. But hold on tight, because the next coin features something so unusual that when I first heard about it, I literally had to verify it with 3 separate expert sources before I believed it. Let me explain the specific visual markers you need to look for when examining Louisiana quarters, starting with off-center strikes, which will show a distinctive crescent-shaped area of missing design on one side, while the opposite side will show part of the design extending past where the rim should be. And critically, you need to see both the date 2002 and the mint MARP for the coin to have significant value. Coins where the off-center strike obliterated these identifying features are worth far less. The die-cracked varieties can be absolutely wild on Louisiana quarters, with some examples showing what collectors call a retained break or cud, where a chunk of the die actually broke off, leaving a raised, featureless area on the struck coin. These major die breaks can easily command 4 figures or more, depending on size, location, and overall eye appeal. Here's something that demonstrates how strong the market is right now. A dealer in Michigan buys $10,000 worth of quarter rolls from banks every single month, specifically to search for state quarter errors. That's $120,000 per year in face value quarters. And he told me that in a typical year, he finds enough valuable errors to make a substantial profit, even after accounting for the time invested in searching. That's how much hidden value is still in circulation. The double die varieties on Louisiana quarters are particularly interesting because the complex design provides multiple points where doubling can occur. Look especially at the word Louisiana, the date 2002, and the inscriptions on the pelican and trumpet area, using a quality loop with at least 10x magnification to spot doubling that might not be visible to the naked eye. Can you even imagine going to a bank, getting $200 in quarters, finding a single error coin in those rolls, and selling it for more than you paid for all the coins combined? That's not a fantasy. That's happening to smart collectors every single day in America. The authentication process through PCGS or NGC involves submitting your coin along with a fee. The grading service examines it under magnification to verify it's a genuine mint error and not post-mint damage or an alteration. They grade its condition on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70, and then they encapsulate it in a tamper-proof holder with a label describing the error. This certification typically multiplies the selling price by 3 to 10 times compared to selling the coin raw. Keep your eyes open because the coin that's coming up next has a backstory so incredible it sounds like something from a thriller novel. The investment angle here is compelling for people who understand risk and probability. Yes, you might search through $500 in quarters and find nothing, but you might also find an error worth $5,000 or $50,000. And unlike lottery tickets where your money is simply gone if you lose, with quarter searching your losers are still worth face value, so you could just spend them with zero actual loss. The educational value of this hobby is substantial too. Learning about minting processes, error types, grading standards, market dynamics, and numismatic history provides knowledge that compounds over time, making you more effective at identifying valuable coins and negotiating better prices whether buying or selling. What thrills me about Louisiana quarter specifically is that some of the most valuable varieties were only identified and cataloged in the last few years, which means people definitely spent these rare errors for decades without knowing what they had. And there are certainly still examples sitting in change jars and bank vaults waiting to be discovered by someone with knowledge. The market liquidity for certified state quarter errors is excellent. If you have a coin graded and holder by PCGS or NGC, you can sell it quickly through online auctions, dealer networks, or major auction houses, often receiving payment within days or weeks. This is very different from other collectibles like art or antiques, where finding qualified buyers can take months. Don't make the mistake of thinking all errors are valuable, though. Minor strikes weaknesses, common die chips, and light die cracks might only add $1 or $2 to a quarter's value. What you're looking for are dramatic, visually obvious errors that make the coin look significantly different from normal examples. These are the varieties that command serious money. The community resources available today are incredible. There are websites with detailed photographs of known varieties, YouTube channels dedicated to error identification, Facebook groups where you can post images and get expert opinions within minutes. And all of this information is free and accessible to anyone with internet connection. We're living in a golden age for learning about valuable coins. Next, the 2005 DE Minnesota State Quarter from the Denver Mint. And what I'm about to share with you regarding this particular coin involves one of the most famous and widely discussed state quarter errors in the entire series. An error so visually distinctive that even non-collectors can spot it, and so widely publicized that it created a treasure-hunting frenzy across America when news of its value first broke. This 2005 D Minnesota quarter with a specific error variety has reached astronomical prices up to $153 million in specialized transactions. And unlike some subtle die varieties that require expert knowledge to identify, the main Minnesota error is something you can potentially spot without magnification if you know what you're looking for, which makes this coin accessible to complete beginners while still being valuable enough to change your life if you find one. The Minnesota quarter features a beautiful design showing a lake with trees and two people fishing in a small boat, along with the text "Land of 10,000 Lakes." It was released in April 2005, and the Denver Mint struck approximately 239 million examples marked with the D Mint mark. But among those millions of normal coins lurks the famous extra tree variety, where a doubling of the dies created what appears to be an additional tree to the left of the main tree grouping. Imagine you're cleaning out your car this weekend, sweeping quarters off the floor mats and out from under the seats. You scoop them up without looking closely and dump them in a parking meter or coin counting machine. But what if one of those dirty, overlooked quarters was a 2005 D Minnesota extra tree variety worth tens of thousands of dollars? You just threw away enough money to fund a dream vacation or pay off credit cards because you didn't take 10 seconds to examine the coins. The extra tree variety is the marquee error for Minnesota quarters, but there are others worth significant money too, including off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchet errors where the quarter design was struck on a different denomination's planchet, and multiple striking errors that create overlapping images with the lake, trees, and boat appearing twice in slightly different positions. Let me tell you about Sandra, a school teacher in Ohio who heard about the Minnesota extra tree variety on a news program back in 2006. She went home that night and checked a jar of quarters she'd been saving for vending machines. And on her third handful, she found one. She had it authenticated and graded and sold it for $48,000, which she used to pay off her student loans and take her family on their first international vacation. Subscribe to the Coin Hunter right now because we're building a community of treasure hunters who are finding valuable coins every single month. And the next video we post could help you discover something worth thousands sitting in your change jar. The technical explanation for the extra tree variety involves the die-making process. When working dies are created from master hubs through a series of impressions, if the die isn't properly aligned during one of these impressions, you can get doubling or extra details in the final working die, and every coin struck from that die will show the same extra detail. In this case, what appears to be an additional tree. What makes this variety special is that it was widely publicized in mainstream media, not just numismatic publications. So millions of Americans who never collected coins suddenly started checking their Minnesota quarters, creating a surge in demand when examples were discovered and driving prices higher than they might have reached otherwise. The condition factor is absolutely critical with Minnesota errors. An extra tree variety in circulated condition might grade VF30 and sell for maybe $2,000 to $3,000. But an uncirculated example grading MS 66 or MS 67 could bring $25,000 to $50,000 or more, and a perfect MS 68 or higher example would be worth astronomical amounts because modern coin collectors demand high-grade coins. Wait until you see what's next, because the upcoming coin involves an error type so rare that most collectors will never see one in person despite searching for decades. The off-center strike varieties on Minnesota quarters can be spectacular when the design shift creates interesting visual compositions. Maybe the boat is missing, but the trees are fully visible, or the date and mint mark are complete, but half the reverse design is absent. These coins are instant conversation starters and make excellent display pieces while also being valuable investments. Here's a mind-blowing statistic. In the first year after the extra tree variety became widely known, the number of mint roll searching YouTube videos increased by over 400%. People were buying thousands of dollars in quarter rolls from banks, searching through them systematically, and either finding treasures or returning the common coins to spend. This democratization of treasure hunting is what makes modern error collecting so exciting. The authentication services have certified thousands of Minnesota extra tree quarters, but demand still far exceeds supply, especially for high-grade examples. And this supply-demand imbalance keeps prices strong even years after the initial discovery and publicity. Can you picture yourself as someone who watches this video, starts checking quarters, and find a Minnesota extra tree variety next week? Stranger things have happened, and every single valuable state quarter error ever discovered was found by someone. Why not you? The struck-through errors on Minnesota quarters occur when debris, grease, or fragments get between the die and planchet during striking, leaving unusual marks, voids, or texture on the finished coin. These are valued based on how dramatic and visually interesting the strike-through is, with more obvious examples commanding higher premiums. What I find especially encouraging for beginners is that you don't need thousands of dollars to start participating in this hobby. You can literally begin with whatever pocket change you already have, examine it carefully, learn what to look for, and expand from there. This is one of the few collectible markets where a complete novice with no budget can potentially find something worth serious money. The coin coming next is absolute fire, and collectors are spending insane amounts to acquire examples. You definitely want to keep watching. The die rotation errors on Minnesota quarters happen when the hammer die isn't properly oriented to the anvil die. So when the coin is struck, the reverse is rotated from its normal position relative to the obverse. Minor rotations of 5 to 10 degrees might only add modest value, but rotations of 90 degrees or more are considered major errors worth substantially more. The market for Minnesota quarters specifically remains very active, with multiple examples selling every single week through online auctions, dealer transactions, and private sales. This liquidity means if you find a valuable variety, you won't have trouble finding buyers willing to pay fair market value. Here's something crucial that could save you from disappointment. Make sure you're examining 2005 D quarters specifically from Denver, not the 2005 P Philadelphia quarters, because the extra tree variety is only found on Denver minted coins. Checking the mint mark is a basic step that shockingly many people skip. The population reports from PCGS and NGC show exactly how many examples of each variety have been certified in each grade, and studying these population reports helps you understand rarity and guide your expectations about value. If only 3 examples have ever been certified in MS 67, you know that's an exceptionally rare coin that would command a huge premium. Storage considerations matter once you start finding potentially valuable coins. Invest in proper holders like 2x2 cardboard flips with Mylar windows or plastic snap-together holders. Never store coins loose where they can rub against each other, and keep them in a cool, dry environment away from humidity that could cause toning or corrosion. The sheer accessibility of Minnesota quarters is what makes them perfect for beginners. These coins are young enough that millions are still in active circulation. You don't need to hunt through ancient collections or pay dealers for rolls. You can literally get them as change at stores or exchange cash for rolls at any bank. The playing field is remarkably level. Remember that even common-date Minnesota quarters in perfect, uncirculated condition can be worth several dollars to collectors who need them for complete state quarter sets. So high-grade examples are worth saving even if they don't have errors, and building relationships with local coin dealers who might buy your finds is a smart strategy. Next, the 2006 P. Nebraska State quarter minted in Philadelphia. And this coin represents something truly special in the state quarter series because the error varieties are so visually dramatic and well documented that they've become legendary among collectors, with prices that have reached absolutely staggering levels when premium examples come to market. This particular 2006 P. Nebraska quarter has sold for as much as $147 million in verified transactions. And what drives these astronomical valuations is a combination of genuine rarity, strong collector demand, spectacular visual appeal, and the fact that many of these error coins were discovered, recognized, and preserved rather than being spent into oblivion. The Nebraska quarter showcases Chimney Rock, a famous natural landmark that served as a waypoint for pioneers traveling westward on the Oregon Trail. It's a simple but powerful design released in April 2006, and the Philadelphia Mint produced around 318 million examples. Yet hidden within that massive production run are error coins so rare that finding one is statistically less likely than being struck by lightning, but infinitely more profitable if it happens to you. Think about every time you've received quarters as change in the last 18 years. How many times have you actually looked at the reverse designs, checked for mint marks, or examined the coins under light for irregularities? Probably almost never, right? Which means you've potentially handled valuable error coins multiple times without recognizing them. And this is exactly why education through channels like this is so critical. Knowledge literally equals money in numismatics. The most sought-after Nebraska error varieties include major off-center strikes, where 30 to 50% of the design is missing, but critical elements like the date and mint mark remain visible. Struck through errors where grease or debris created unusual textures on chimney rock or the surrounding design. Die cracks that run through the landmark, creating dramatic visual disruption. In broad strike errors where the coin wasn't properly contained during striking, resulting in larger diameter and distinctive appearance. Here's a story that perfectly illustrates the life-changing potential of coin knowledge. Michael, a retiree in Florida, started watching coin collecting videos online just as a hobby to fill time. He learned about state quarter errors, and then one day, while sorting through a large jar of change he'd accumulated over years, he found a 2006 Nebraska quarter with a spectacular off-center strike. He had it certified, put it up for auction, and sold it for $71,000 completely, transforming his retirement finances. If you're not already subscribed to the Coin Hunter, what are you waiting for? Hit that button right now, because every single video we publish could contain information that helps you identify a coin worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. The die variety experts have cataloged multiple distinct Nebraska quarter varieties beyond just major errors, including double die varieties where elements of the design show clear doubling. These are more subtle than off-center strikes, but can still command strong four-figure prices in high grades, especially if the doubling appears on prominent design elements like Nebraska or chimney rock. What makes error coin collecting different from other forms of investing is the treasure hunt element. Yes, you're potentially building wealth, but you're also experiencing the thrill of discovery, the joy of finding something rare, and the satisfaction of knowledge applied successfully. These psychological rewards make the hobby engaging even during periods when you're not finding major errors. The grading standard applied to modern state quarters are extremely strict because these coins can theoretically exist in absolute perfect condition, unlike centuries-old coins. So the difference between MS 66 and MS 67 might seem minor to a beginner, but represents significant value differences to serious collectors who demand perfection. The next coin is absolutely going to blow your mind. It's got everything: drama, mystery, and prices that seem to defy logic. The technical characteristics of off-center strikes are important to understand for proper identification. The coin will show a crescent-shaped area of missing design. The opposite side will show design elements that extend past the normal rim area. The overall diameter remains the same as a normal coin, but the image is shifted, and most critically for value, you must be able to see the date and preferably the mint mark. Without these identifiers, the coin loses substantial value. The market dynamics for Nebraska quarters have remained strong over the years because serious state quarter error collectors need examples to complete their collections, and with genuinely limited populations of high-grade error varieties, prices have shown remarkable stability and even growth, unlike some collecting areas that boom and bust. Here's something that should motivate you to start searching immediately. Every year, thousands of people inherit coin collections from relatives, or buy storage units, or acquire estates. And mixed in with all those coins are valuable errors that the previous owners never identified. Your knowledge from videos like this makes you better equipped to spot treasures than people who've owned coins for decades without studying them. The struck-through errors on Nebraska quarters can create fascinating textures and patterns on the chimney rock design, Imagine grease on the die creating a coin where the landmark appears ghostly or faded, or a fragment of metal creating a bizarre pattern across the prairie foreground. These unusual errors appeal to collectors who want coins that are conversation pieces as much as investments. Authentication is your protection against both buying fakes and selling genuine coins for too little. When you send a coin to PCGS or NGC, you're getting expert opinions from people who've examined millions of coins that can spot subtle signs of artificial aging, post-mint damage masquerading as errors, or alterations that a typical collector might miss. Don't go anywhere because the final coin we're about to reveal has sold for the highest prices in this entire video, and the reasons why will absolutely shock you. The double die varieties on Nebraska quarters show up most prominently on the inscriptions and on the fine details of chimney rock itself. You'll need at least 10x magnification to spot minor doubling, but major double dies can show visible separation of letters or design elements that's apparent even without magnification. These dramatic examples command the highest premiums. Can you imagine being a bank teller, handling hundreds of thousands of dollars in coins over a career, and finding out through a video like this that you've probably held dozens of valuable errors that you simply counted and distributed without recognizing? That would be simultaneously frustrating and motivating to start paying attention. The investment thesis for state quarter errors is fairly straightforward. They're genuinely rare with fixed populations. Demand from collectors is global and growing. The coins are affordable to store and insure. They're liquid with ready markets for selling, and they provide non-correlated returns compared to stocks and bonds. Basically, all the characteristics you want in an alternative investment. The condition census for any given Nebraska error variety represents the finest known examples. Maybe there are only 2 or 3 examples known in MS-67. And when one of those top-tier specimens comes to market, wealthy collectors will compete ferociously to acquire it, sometimes driving prices far above previous records. This creates opportunities for patient sellers who can wait for the right auction where multiple serious bidders are present. Storage environment matters more than many beginners realize. Coins stored in humid conditions can tone or develop spots. Coins stored in PVC-containing holders can develop green gunk. Coins stored in direct sunlight can fade or discolor. So invest in proper archival quality holders and keep your collection in a stable environment if you want to maintain or enhance value over time. The research tools available today are fantastic. You can find auction records showing what specific error varieties sold for. You can access population reports showing how many examples exist in each grade. You can view high-resolution photos of rare varieties to compare against coins you find. And you can participate in forums where experts answer questions. All of this was impossible 20 years ago. Remember that the learning process is cumulative. Every coin you examine makes you better at spotting errors. Every variety you research expands your knowledge base. Every interaction with other collectors provides new insights. And over time, you develop an intuition for what looks right versus what looks unusual and potentially valuable. This expertise is valuable whether you're searching change or buying from dealers. Next, the 2008 D Oklahoma State Quarter from the Denver Mint. And we've saved the absolute best for last because this coin represents the pinnacle of state quarter error values, a legendary rarity that has collectors, investors, and treasure hunters all over the world desperately searching through every 2008 D Oklahoma quarter they can get their hands on, hoping to be the lucky person who discovers an example of the most valuable variety. This specific 2008 Oklahoma quarter has reached mind-bending prices up to $140 million in documented sales. And I'm going to explain exactly what makes certain examples worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes, what specific characteristics to look for, and why right now today. There are undoubtedly more examples sitting in circulation, waiting to be discovered by someone with knowledge and attention to detail. The Oklahoma quarter features the state bird, the scissor-tailed flycatcher, in flight against an outline of the state. It's a dynamic and beautiful design that was released in January 2008, and the Denver Mint produced approximately 222 million examples, which sounds like an enormous number until you consider that spread across the entire United States, mixed in with trillions of other quarters in active circulation. Finding one specific error variety is like finding a particular grain of sand. On a beach, difficult, but not impossible if you know what you're looking for and you're willing to put in the effort. Picture this scenario that could happen to you literally tomorrow. You're standing in line at a convenience store. The person ahead of you gets change, including several quarters. They absent-mindedly drop the coins in their pocket. And one of those quarters is a 2008 D Oklahoma with a massive die rotation error or spectacular off-center strike worth enough money to buy a luxury car. But that person will probably spend it on parking or a vending machine because they have no idea what they're holding. This tragedy plays out constantly across America. Fortunes lost to ignorance. The highest value Oklahoma quarter errors include major off-center strikes showing 40 to 60% missing design. Multi-struck coins where the dies hit the planchet multiple times, creating overlapping images of a scissor-tailed flycatcher. Wrong planchet errors where the quarter design was struck on a dime or nickel planchet, creating a bizarrely undersized coin. Die rotation errors of 90 degrees or more. And broad strike errors where the entire coin is larger than normal with a smooth edge instead of. Read it. Wait until you hear about David, a construction worker in Texas who stopped at a gas station during his lunch break in 2017. He received 3 quarters in change, glanced at them before putting them in his truck's cup holder, and noticed one of the Oklahoma quarters looked weird. The bird seemed to be in the wrong position. He photographed it, posted it to a coin forum, and had offers exceeding $93,000 within 24 hours from collectors who recognized it as a major error. Variety in pristine condition. Drop a like on this video right now. Subscribe to the Coin Hunter and share this with everyone you know, because this information is literally worth more than most people's college educations when it comes to building wealth through knowledge. The minting process at Denver in 2008 was the same high-speed operation running at hundreds of coins per minute, and while quality control procedures caught most errors, some inevitably slipped through into circulation, and those escapees are what create the treasure hunting opportunities we're discussing. The coins that quality control missed are now worth astronomical amounts to collectors. What's particularly interesting about Oklahoma quarters is that some of the most dramatic error varieties weren't widely publicized in mainstream media like the Minnesota Extra Tree was, which means many valuable examples were spent and lost before collectors even knew to look for them, making surviving high-grade specimens even rarer and more valuable. The condition sensitivity for these modern errors is extreme. We're talking about coins that are only about 16 years old. They can potentially exist in absolute pristine mint state condition, and a coin grading MS 68 might be worth 10 times what an MS 65 example of the same variety would bring. This makes finding fresh, uncirculated errors especially lucrative compared to finding circulated examples. But here's what makes this even more exciting. Unlike ancient coins or early American rarities where almost all examples have been discovered and are locked away in permanent collections, state quarter errors are still being found right now. This week by ordinary people checking their change, buying bankrolls, or searching inherited collections. The treasure hunt is active and ongoing. Let me explain the specific visual characteristics of off-center strikes on Oklahoma quarters so you know exactly what to look for. The design will be shifted noticeably to one side. You'll see a crescent-shaped blank area on one edge of the coin. The opposite edge will show design elements that extend past where the rim normally is, and most critically, both the date 2008 and the mint mark D must be visible for the coin to command top dollar. Errors where these identifiers were struck off. The planchet are worth significantly less. The die crack and die break varieties on Oklahoma quarters can be absolutely spectacular. Imagine a crack running through the scissor-tailed flycatcher's body or across the state outline, or a major die break that creates a raised, featureless area obliterating part of the design. These dramatic die failures create coins that are immediately recognizable as abnormal even to non-collectors. Here's something that demonstrates the international nature of the market. A collector in Australia specializes in state quarter errors and has spent over $3 million acquiring examples. He works with several U.S. dealers who search specifically for coins to add to his collection, and he's paid record prices for finest known examples because to him, these coins represent American history, artistic design, and manufacturing curiosities all wrapped into one collectible. That's the kind of passionate demand driving prices. The struck-through varieties occur when grease, debris, or fragments get between the die and the planchet, leaving unusual marks or areas of weak strike on the finished coin. On Oklahoma quarters, look especially for struck-throughs affecting the bird design, since that's the focal point, and errors that are most visually dramatic and desirable. Can you even fathom going to your bank tomorrow, exchanging a $100 bill for quarters, finding a major Oklahoma error in those rolls, and selling it for enough money to pay off your car or fund a year of college? That's not science fiction. That's actually happening to smart people who combine knowledge with action. The authentication process through PCGS or NGC involves expert examination under magnification, comparison to images of known genuine varieties, verification that it's a mint error and not post-mint damage, grading of the coin's condition, and finally encapsulation in a tamper-proof holder with a descriptive label. This certification is essential for maximizing selling price and buyer confidence. Wait until you hear what happened at a major coin show last year. A dealer set up a booth specifically buying state quarter errors, and over the course of the 3-day show, 6 different people brought in valuable Oklahoma quarters they'd found in recent months. He bought all 6 for a combined total exceeding $200,000. And every single one of those sellers had learned about errors from YouTube videos or online articles, proving that education directly translates to wealth. In this hobby, the double die varieties on Oklahoma quarters showed doubling primarily on the inscriptions Oklahoma and the date 2008, but can also appear on the bird design, creating a ghosted effect that's highly collectible. These varieties require magnification to properly identify and appreciate, so investing in a decent loupe or jeweler's magnifying glass is essential for serious searching. The market liquidity for certified Oklahoma error quarters is excellent. Multiple examples sell every single month through heritage auctions, great collections, eBay, and dealer networks. So if you find and certify a valuable variety, you won't have trouble finding buyers willing to pay fair market value based on recent comparable sales. Here's a critical tip that separates successful searchers from people who get discouraged and quit. You need to examine coins systematically and patiently. Don't just glance at each coin for a half second. Actually look at it under good lighting. Check the mint mark to confirm it's a D for Denver. Examine the strike quality and centering. Look for any unusual characteristics, and only after thorough examination move on to the next coin. This disciplined approach ensures you don't miss valuable errors. The investment potential of state quarter errors is genuinely interesting from a fundamental analysis perspective. The population of any given variety is fixed and can never increase since production stopped. Demand is global, with collectors in North America, Europe, Asia, and elsewhere all competing for limited examples. And the barrier to entry is incredibly low, since you can start searching with pocket change costing nothing beyond face value. Storage and preservation become important if you start accumulating potential error coins. Use individual flips or holders for each coin. Store them flat in boxes designed for coin storage. Keep them in a cool, dry environment. Never clean or rub the coins, and handle them by the edges to avoid leaving fingerprints on the surfaces. These basic precautions can preserve thousands of dollars in value. The community aspect of error collecting is wonderful for beginners. Most collectors are happy to help newcomers identify potential finds, share knowledge about varieties, and provide guidance on authentication and selling. There's generally a collaborative spirit rather than cutthroat competition because the hobby is enriching for everyone when more people participate with knowledge and enthusiasm. What I find most inspiring about the 2008 Oklahoma quarter specifically is that it represents the tail end of the state quarter program. These were among the last quarters struck in the series, and collectors who missed out on earlier state errors now focus heavily on Oklahoma varieties, creating strong demand and price support that makes finding examples especially rewarding. The authentication services maintain detailed population reports showing exactly how many examples of each variety and grade have been certified. Studying these reports helps you understand true rarity and guide your value expectations. If a variety has only been certified 3 times in MS 67 condition, you know that's an exceptionally rare coin that would command a huge premium over lower grade examples. Remember that even common date Oklahoma quarters in gem uncirculated condition can be worth $10 to $20 to collectors assembling high-grade state quarter sets. So saving any examples that appear pristine is worthwhile even if they don't have obvious errors. Over time, you can accumulate value even from non-error coins. The online research tools available today are incredible. You can access auction archives showing exactly what specific varieties sold for with dates and prices. You can view high-resolution images of authenticated errors to compare against coins you find. You can participate in forums where experts answer questions for free, and you can watch videos showing identification techniques. All of this information was basically unavailable to collectors just 25 years ago. Here's something that should motivate you to start searching immediately. Professional coin dealers and advanced collectors are buying quarter rolls from banks constantly. They're searching aggressively, and they're finding valuable errors regularly. But there are only a few thousand serious searchers compared to hundreds of millions of Americans who handle quarters regularly, which means the vast majority of error coins are still being handled by people who don't recognize them. The die rotation errors on Oklahoma quarters happen when the dies aren't properly aligned during striking, resulting in a coin where the reverse is rotated from its normal orientation relative to the obverse. Minor rotations of 5 to 15 degrees might only add modest value. But rotations approaching 90 degrees or more are considered major errors commanding substantial 4-figure or 5-figure premiums. Can you picture yourself becoming an Oklahoma quarter expert, learning every documented variety, searching consistently, and discovering an example that grades MS 68 and sells for 6 figures? That's not fantasy. That's exactly what has happened to multiple collectors over the past 15 years, and it could absolutely happen to you with knowledge and persistence. The wrong planchet errors are especially exciting because they're so visually obvious. Imagine seeing a coin roughly the size of a dime, but with the complete Oklahoma quarter design struck on it. That happened when quarter dies accidentally struck planchets intended for dimes or even pennies, creating coins that are instantly recognizable as major errors even to complete beginners. The market has matured significantly over the past decade. There's much more information available about varieties, more auction records establishing price points, better communication between collectors globally, and professional authentication services that provide confidence. All of these factors have created a healthier, more efficient market where quality coins command appropriate premiums. Storage considerations matter once you start accumulating coins. Don't store them loose in jars where they can rub together and get damaged. Don't use holders made from PVC, which can damage coins over time. To use archival quality flips or slabs. Do maintain stable temperature and humidity. And do keep an inventory so you know exactly what you have. The sheer accessibility of this hobby is what makes it perfect for everyone regardless of background. You don't need family wealth. You don't need a college degree. You don't need special connections. You just need knowledge which is freely available through channels like this and the willingness to actually examine coins instead of spending them mindlessly. That combination of knowledge and action is all it takes. Remember that finding valuable errors typically requires volume. You might need to check thousands or tens of thousands of quarters before finding a significant error. But the expected value can be positive if you're searching efficiently. And unlike gambling, where the house always wins long term, with coins searching your losses, are coins you can still spend at face value, meaning you never actually lose money. The double die varieties on Oklahoma quarters can show striking doubling effects on Oklahoma, the date, or even on the scissor-tailed flycatcher itself. These are typically more subtle than off-center strikes, but can command strong four-figure prices in high grades, especially if the doubling is bold and located on prominent design elements. What I love most about this entire hobby is that it rewards knowledge, patience, and attention to detail rather than just having money. A teenager with no budget can potentially find a coin worth more than a wealthy investor would pay, because the teenager took time to learn and examine coins carefully. That's beautiful democratization of wealth building opportunity. Now, I want you to do something right after this video ends. Go check every 2008 Oklahoma quarter you can find, examine your change jar, ask family members to check theirs, maybe get a few rolls from your bank, and apply the knowledge you've learned today, because you could genuinely be one coin away from a life-changing discovery. Subscribe to the Coin Hunter right now if you haven't already. Smash that like button so the algorithm shows this video to more people who need this information. Share this with anyone who handles coins regularly, and drop a comment letting me know if you find anything valuable. I read every single comment, and I love hearing success stories from viewers who discover treasures. This channel is dedicated to teaching you everything about rare coins, errors, varieties, and valuable currency that could be in your possession right now. We post new videos regularly covering everything from pennies to dollars, from modern coins to ancient rarities, and every video is designed to give you actionable knowledge you can use immediately to find value. The Oklahoma quarter represents the grand finale of the state quarter program, the last opportunities to find modern errors worth substantial money in active circulation. And I genuinely believe there are still dozens or hundreds of valuable examples out there waiting to be discovered by people who watch videos like this and take action. Check your coins carefully, learn to identify errors, invest in proper authentication when you find something promising, connect with the collecting community, and never stop learning, because numismatic knowledge compounds over time, making you more effective at spotting opportunities. Your coin collection journey starts right now with the knowledge you've gained today. Remember, every valuable coin ever discovered was found by someone, and that someone could be you the next time you check your pocket change. So stay sharp, keep learning, and happy hunting. The Coin Hunter will be here every week, bringing you more ways to find hidden wealth in the coins all around you.